Hey guys, welcome to the shop. Now behind me is quite a bit of space and it's really underutilized here. I got a big island of, well, it's just, I call it unfunctionality. Also, this is an HVLP cabinet that has my hoses and all of my stuff to spray professional finishes, and it's just not really working for me. So I'm gonna do something with this. And I probably need to drink more water. All right, let's fix this problem. All right, first we're gonna get this thing out of here, and a simple drawing was made. That's by me. Look at that work of art. That's kind of a goal here, and that's what I'm gonna make. So I'm gonna start with some 1/2 inch Baltic birch, and we're gonna cut some pieces down to size to start making this thing. I am gonna make this entire build out of 1/2 inch plywood. And for those of you that want to say you have flip-flops on in your shop, yes I do, they are steel toe, and let's just leave it at that. So in my drawing I was going to do a complete semicircle, but I decided to do kind of a 45-degree angle and then round over just barely those corners. I think it's going to give me a little bit better look, and it's actually a little bit easier to do because I don't have like a drawing bow where you would make a perfect semicircle. You could hook up nails and do strings and all kinds of stuff, but this is the easiest thing for me. I do want to tell you, I do reference the top of most of my cabinets when I make them. You saw me do it there. It kind of helps out. And here we go. This product is actually offered by me. This is a 90-degree clamping assist. It uses 2 spring clamps and then 2 F-style clamps to really drive it home to make sure that you get a perfect 90-degree whenever you're assembling cabinets. I love these things. They're on my website below, aglimpseinside.org. Check it out if you get a second. Especially assembling 1/2 inch plywood, it makes just the hands-free operation of this just that much easier. And I'm going to go without glue here because this is a piece of shop furniture and I really don't think it needs it. Plenty of mechanical fasteners, i.e. screws, are going to be in this thing. Alright, now we're going to assemble the top. Of course, I do tack things in with brad nails, and I'm going to come back and then countersink some screws again. A lot of people ask me about where I get these screws. Well, any big box store, there's different brands. There's Power Pro and GRK. Depending on where you go, just look in the screw section. They're called flush trim screws, or I guess just trim screws. And I use them all the time, and they're fantastic. But if you don't drill correctly, this can happen to you. I can't stand it when this happens, but I'm going to show you a little trick I use. It involves coating one of your fingers in packing tape and then using some CA glue. I've got this Star Bond here. And of course, I'm going to flood the surface. You can use medium, medium thick, thin, whatever you want. And then I make sure I get that glue into that, crevasse, if you will. And then spray it with activator and use my finger over and over to kind of press it in there. Once I sand it all flush, when it's dry, you hardly know it's there. So don't forget, coat your finger in packing tape and you can do whatever you want to with CA glue. Now I'm going to put a few marks here to reference, well, I got to make some drawers here on the top and bottom, and this is going to help me do that. So I've got a 5-inch mark up and down here, and I'm going to go ahead and extend it, and here's going to be the pieces that are going to make the drawer cavities. Now you can make all those marks if you want, or you can simply just make some riser blocks and then use that as a spacer. And I should have thought about that beforehand, but I didn't, so I'm passing it on to you. But make sure, because you're going to screw these in from the side, make sure you get a line in the middle of your piece that's going to be there. It's going to make life a lot easier when it comes time to fasten this thing together. Now, in my shop furniture, I don't typically mind screws being exposed like this, but I do mind them not being lined up with the exact spacing between them. Okay, you don't want to put one at 4 inches and then at 6 inches and then 3 inches. It looks kind of funny, so I at least try to have that kind of congruency when I'm doing screws exposed. Now, it's time to cut through some of this material again, but I need to be a little bit safer. Yes, I need to use this push stick I got here. It says Maker on it. And you know what? I love this thing. But you know what? Honestly, it's just not good enough. I need a better push stick. So, let's see. Behold, the best push stick on the planet. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. It is one to rule them all. In fact, get that out of there. And honestly, this is what I'm going to be using to cut only these 2 pieces because it's a work of art and it's going up on the wall. If you don't know who made that, it's Drew Fisher from Fisher's Shop. You've been under a rock, so if you don't know Drew, I'm going to link him down below, and I want to thank him so much. He sent these out over the holidays to people who inspire him, and I just can't thank you enough, Drew. So again, check out Drew Fisher's Shop down below. He makes amazing stuff. So during the last few seconds here, I've been installing some drawers, or making some drawers rather. Pretty simple, make a frame and then put a bottom on it with some glue and brads. I've got some full extension drawer slides, but they're not going to be that for me because I have an 18-inch deep cabinet and these are only 14-inch drawer slides. That's all I had on hand at the moment, but I'm just going to go ahead and go with it. I'm making a makeshift spacer block here to help me install them. Kind of hard to explain, but when full extension drawer slides are installed, I like them to be recessed back only by about 1 millimeter or so. That washer helps me do that. Reason being, when they pull the drawer in, it's nice to have that extra pull. It just kind of works a little bit better for me that way. If you don't do it that way, that's fine, but if you find that your full extension drawer slide is a little bit proud, like it doesn't go all the way back, maybe install your drawer slides with maybe 1 millimeter back from the edge of where the cabinet is. It works out for me. I really love the soft close feature of these. They're fantastic. You can get these at Rockler as well. So I made a mistake. I didn't quite, line it up just right. But pretty simply with a toothpick and some CA glue, you just fix it real quick. Takes about 30 seconds, activate it, sand it down, and it's like it never happened. So basically, it's a little trick. Why not? And then I like to take the drawers out completely to install that third and final screw. It is kind of hidden behind some of that hardware. Just makes that process a bit easier, and that's the drawers complete. Now, we do have to go over to the table saw here and cut out some drawer faces. You can see here, when I put the drawer back in, it's inset all the way. It's got, well, it's not a flush mount drawer. Well, I guess it is flush, but the drawer itself is inset because it gives room for the drawer face. And that is right here. They're made from Baltic birch plywood as well. And I've asked my Penguin robot to cut me out a couple drawer pulls. This was actually faster than going to the big box store to buy some, and it's custom. Why not? So now I'm going to show you how to take a handle and put it dead center in the middle of a drawer face. You put it up to the top corner, and then you make a mark on the adjoining side. You repeat that on all 4 corners. So you've got 4 marks. Then you're going to join the corner to the far mark down below, make a mark. Do the same exact thing on all 4 sides. You're going to end up with 2 X's. The middle of those X's represent the outer limits of where that drawer pull is. And so now you know where you can put your screws. Pretty easy. So once you got your marks, I like to indent them a little bit because I'm going to sand off those X's and I want the marks to stay there. You can see here, they're dead nuts, man. They're dead center. And to install this drawer face, I've got a series of pin nails. I'm going to stack 2 on. This is just referenced on what I think is going to look good here. You use whatever you want, playing cards, brad nails, whatever you want. I'm going to tack in 2 brads right where I made those marks. Then I'm going to take the drawer out, and then I'm going to install the drawer face from the back. I'm using 3/4 inch screws here, countersunk, pretty easy. So the drawer pulls that I made for this cabinet, this drawer, are going to be permanently attached. So I'm just going to drill right above that brad nail. I'm going to put some CA glue around that hole. And then I'm going to put some activator on the pull. I'm going to put that thing right in the middle. And then I'm going to come around to the other side. That's about 10 seconds worth of holding power. I'm going to come to the other side and I'm just going to install some screws, sand everything flush. And now these drawer pulls are permanent structures. And yes, I'm going over to my drill press cabinet. And this is no joke. I keep casters like this like it's an ingredient. I think it's great to have casters around, and the same ones in the shop that I use all the time. So we're going to make this thing mobile, of course, but I need a little more material to screw these casters in. So I'm just doubling up some Baltic birch 1/2 inch again, as you see here. All right, so you can see me using pinhead screws with washers here to install this caster, but say you don't have any washers and you need to use a pinhead screw that's maybe too small for this kind of application. I'm going to show you what I do here. I drill the hole on the inner circle of this entire caster and then kind of compression fit all the way around, and no one's none the wiser, or however that expression goes. And here is, oh, this is so cool. It worked. Yeah. I'm overly excited about it, but I've got these work surfaces that are cantilevered out from these French cleat brackets I make, and there's a space in between that I thought was perfect to hold little workstations, and this turned out really well. Now, I gotta admit, I don't like the top being plain, so I'm gonna do a little experiment. I got some walnut here. I'll explain what I'm doing here. Check this out. Okay, so this technique is gonna involve a piece of walnut, and I'm not gonna mill this thing. I have this idea of cutting it into some pieces and actually using the fact that it has some imperfections in it, okay? And hopefully this works. I mean, of course it's gonna work. I hope. Okay, so this technique is also a method of stretching your walnut really thin, okay? I'm only gonna use this little chunk, and I'm gonna cover that entire top with it. And how I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna cut it into 1/4 inch pieces. And I've got a stop block here on the crosscut sled. I'm just gonna run through this real quick. Sorry if it makes you dizzy. It kind of makes me a little bit dizzy. But this made quick work of expanding the walnut surface area, well, quite a bit. You can see here, I cut 4 of them in half as well. And then I'm just gonna attach them by eye, like in a brick pattern. This is one of my favorite things to do. If you've been a fan of the channel, I'm gonna mention this later too. I'm a sucker for a nice brick pattern, but I realized as I'm going up, maybe I should space all these out instead of just going at it to make sure they don't end up, halfway up the up the top of the cabinet. So I think this looks okay, and I like the imperfections of it, and they're gonna be hidden by a simple technique, and you're gonna see this pretty easily. I'm gonna take some Tyvek tape. I'm gonna just wrap around the entire thing. And yes, I'm going to flood it with, you guessed it, this is Total Boat's 2-to-1 high performance resin. This is a great resin to use kind of in your everyday. And I got some of this dispersion as well, this black pigment. We're gonna load this up in there, not too much. You don't need a whole lot for it to become completely opaque. You can see here, it's pretty dark. And I think the dark with the walnut is gonna work well. We're gonna flood the surface, let gravity do its thing, and pray for no leaks. Of course, links to all this stuff and coupon codes to save you some money are down below in the description, so check them out. Okay, oh my goodness, let me show you guys something. I didn't even realize this, but look, I'm like, I can't believe that there's really no accidents happening. That is a whole bunch of brown nails coming through the bottom. Looks like I picked a little bit longer brown nail than I needed, but hey, no resin is coming out, so fingers crossed. All right. Real professional there, Chris. Have your phone go off in the middle of shooting. How many of you actually thought it was yours? I'm just curious. Leave me a comment. Okay, so I'm gonna attempt to remove this in one piece, and I failed, but we got it done. Now it's time to just sand this thing down. I recommend using a flat disc with an angle grinder for something like this. I'm just using a pretty aggressive sander myself. However, this did not take just like 5 minutes, okay? This took a little bit of time, because I could have used a little bit less resin, but I wanted to get all those gaps filled. And then I still had a few spots that were a little bit lower that didn't quite get, all the way filled up. So I'm gonna mix up another batch and just kind of lightly pour this in. Use the same ratio of resin to dispersion to make it black. And this should cover all the bases. I'm gonna let this cure for about 4 or 5 hours. Then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do the same process over again. And honestly, we should be good to go. But we're not, because for some weird reason, I missed one more spot, and I'm going to show it to you here. This causes a bit of a problem because I need to get this project finished. And after you see me sand this, look at this little spot right here, right there. I didn't pour any resin in there, but they got this new stuff, and it's UV Cure clear resin. I'm just going to put it in there clear. This is pretty darn cool. You don't need to mix it. It comes pre-mixed. You just put it in. And then it sets with, you guessed it, a UV light. They include a UV flashlight. For about 2 to 10 minutes, they want you to do this. I figured, why not use some squeeze clamps here, spring clamps, and just kind of make a little makeshift holder. And I came back around 5 minutes after having this here, and honest to goodness, check this out. It's cure. I promise. Look at that. No stickiness whatsoever, and I'm able to sand it and keep moving. So definitely check this stuff out. It's great in applications just like this. So a quick little chamfer on my palm router just to kind of ease the edges. Another light sanding to 220. I flood the surface with mineral spirits just to give it a good look, but I'm going to finish this thing off with some hard wax oil. One more sanding. Here it is, Odie's oil, and guess what? I didn't hit record. Are you kidding? Anyway. So, truth be told, I think this looks sharp. And I like how the brick isn't perfectly perfect. I made this pattern before in a couple other pieces of furniture and was really agonizing over the perfection of the spacing, and I didn't this time, and honestly I like this better. The black resin, the walnut, you're able to stretch the walnut really thin. You can see here it fits in place just nice. And again, this is going to be for my HVLP stuff, but you could use this for whatever you want. I really hope that this has given you some inspiration to get out there into your shop and make something pretty cool, pretty nice, and to give you a little bit more organization. All right, well, that's this project complete, but I do want to pass a question off to you. The top and bottom drawer with the open cavity in the middle. I don't know. I like it. I think it's going to work out pretty well, but I want to know your thoughts. If it's functional, if I should have just done drawers all the way down, who knows? Maybe not, because of what I'm using it for. It's an HVLP cart. But I think it worked out pretty well. And also, I also wanted to make a project here to show you that you can buy 8-quarter stock walnut and not have really any milling machines except for a table saw to produce a pretty cool and desired result. Honestly, this technique, I'm a sucker for brick patterns. If you've been a fan of the channel, you know that. I've kind of done it over the years. But I want to do something very similar for a new dining table, like I said earlier. And I think ripping long pieces of this walnut that are not, milled down whatsoever, and then piecing them together on maybe a substrate of plywood, of course, plywood, and then doing the same similar technique. Maybe not spacing them together so far apart, maybe putting them really tight, and doing the same kind of technique. I think it's going to be a cool effect. I mean, my house inside is pretty rustic. I don't show you the inside very often. I just think that's private, but the inside of it's pretty rustic, and I think this design is going to go well. So it's great to practice, and that's a great thing about shop furniture is you can practice whatever you want on it because it is shop furniture, although you do try to make it nice, and I do recommend doing that as well. All right, everything a glimpse inside down below. Thank you for the support on the website store, and again, thanks for Total Boat. And you guys are awesome. Thank you for your viewership. And I'll see you on the next video. Until then, y'all be safe. See ya.